So I think this wraps up our interview. Now, if you have any questions, Mr. Steve, feel free to ask them. Yeah, I think I do have a couple of questions. Hello and welcome, guys. My name is Steve and welcome to yet another 5-Minute Friday where I share my software engineering experience with you. So in this topic, we're going to talk about top 5 questions I would ask an employer. So if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe if you aren't already, and feel free to like and share this video during any time of this video if you find any value. And now, without too much further ado, let's throw in 5 minutes on the clock. So question number 1 I would ask every employer out there on an interview is, are you an outsource company or you're a product company? Tell me a little bit about your projects. Why do I begin with this kind of question? Is because I want to know more about the company, the type of projects they work with, the type of clients they work with, and all that stuff. So knowing if the company is a product company or an outsource company would give you an overview of how exactly they handle work, how they deal with clients, how they deal with estimations and all that stuff. This will play a very important role once you start your job, once you have passed that interview. That's why before you even agree to get a job offer, make sure you ask this question, because you will be aware of what kind of work you're expecting to do, what kind of projects, and how do you deal with clients and all that stuff. This is very important. That's why keep this question in mind and always ask this question, because it's simple, but it's going to cost you a little bit if you don't ask this question and if you make this mistake. Another question I frequently ask, and quite frankly, a lot of engineers which participate in the interview don't really answer this question completely, is give me an example of a pull request. Give me an example of how does a pull request look from the very beginning, where you have the requirements, the ticket, till the very end where you have the pull request, where you have deployed all the changes, it went through all the pipelines and all that stuff. Now, why would I ask this question? Is because it would give me a very clear idea of what exactly and how exactly the company or the developers inside the company handle their work. So keep this in mind as well. It's very important to ask the right questions, otherwise you may run into mistakes. You may regret this later once you accept the job offer, once you left your previous job, and you may say, you know what, the previous job was better. It's because you didn't ask the right questions in the beginning. That's why make sure to ask this question. Just ask them to give you a simple example of how does their pull request look like from the very beginning till the very end. Another question which I think is very important to ask your employer, it's not that technical, but I think it's very important to ask, is ask your employer how do they estimate work, how do they handle estimation sessions. Also ask them if they have something like architecture meetings, like, I don't know, weekly meetings where they talk about architecture, where they talk about improvements and the roadmap of the company and all that stuff. Why is this question very important? Well, first of all, you have to know how they estimate work. You have to know the kind of work they do. You have to know their process, and this is why you really have to know like how they estimate work, because if they are an outsourced company, for example, they might have very tight deadlines and you might be pressured while you're working, and you want to make sure the deadlines are okay. It's a problem, and you have to know that beforehand. You have to know that before you even accept the job offer. And speaking of architecture meetings or weekly meetings, make sure you ask this question as well, because this will give you an idea of how serious the company really is if you want to accept the job offer after the fact. Another very important question to ask your employer, or at least the guys who are interviewing you, is ask them how do they treat refactoring, testing, documentation, tech debt, and all that stuff. A lot of companies, especially in the beginning, neglect these things, but if you're looking for a serious employer, if you're looking for a serious company and a job which is going to be stable, which is going to be satisfying, you want to ask for these things. Otherwise, everybody's going to rush. You're never going to have time for testing, for documentation, for tech debt, refactoring, and you name it. That's why make sure to ask this question. It's very important. It's going to give you, as I said, a bigger picture, a clearer image of how exactly the company deals with these things and how serious they are in the end. And lastly, the 5th question is ask them what's their opinion about open sourcing. Now, a lot of companies, if not most companies out there, don't really do open sourcing because they're not paying you to do open sourcing. But there are a smaller percentage of companies out there who encourage open sourcing. They encourage developers to contribute to the open source. which speaks of the company that they are actually on a different level. They are actually on a different financial level and on a different like mindset level, if you will. In my opinion, if they give you a green light on open sourcing, it means the company is really serious and you should consider getting a job for that company. Alright guys, so this was a quick one. I didn't expect to fit in 5 minutes, but anyways, this was a quick one. This was pretty much it on this 5-Minute Friday. And if you guys found any value out of this video, make sure to hit that like button, share this video, and of course subscribe if you aren't already. Also, I recently gave up my full-time job, which means YouTube is my full-time job, and if you feel like contributing, go ahead and check out that Patreon page over there. And without too much further ado, I'll see you guys in a different video where we talk about a different topic. Peace!